where we plan to bring you some really exciting and innovative programming to guide you, direct you, help you self-discover, and explore new ideas and new ways to do things. So this is our first one. So thank you for joining us. The theme today is purpose identification, goal creation, and SCOB analysis. So we'll make sure we cover all those 3 points. So I'm going to go to the next slide, and this is our agenda for the program. So I'm going to ask Dr. LaTanya Brown-Robertson to start us off.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Calloway. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. LaTanya Brown-Robertson, and welcome to our first Workshop Wednesday seminar. I have a few housekeeping items that I would like to share with you all. We are recording for future reference, so I did click record. Also, please be sure to mute your microphone. Lastly, if you have a question, you can raise the hand icon or you can post it in the chat. And also in the chat, you'll see the sign in attendance link. You can go ahead and sign in there. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so today's sessions are based upon what we call our 4 points of honor.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did you have a question?
No, I did move forward too fast.
Oh, okay. So today's session is based upon our 4 points of honor, which comes in the same context of what we're going to be discussing today, where we came up with a vision where we wanted for students to strategically begin to develop out their strengths. Okay, and so we're not just talking about your academic strengths, but we're referring to your non-academic strengths as well. So getting into our first point of honor, which is developing your curricular strategy. This is dealing with how you are planning out your 4-year curriculum path that leads to your strategic vision of yourself post-graduation. So how does that look? You need to start thinking about that now. Where are you going to be within at the end of graduation? Next, you also want to look at how you want to develop and direct a personal research plan that you're going to be doing for your thesis, and making sure that it not only aligns with your chosen major, but it aligns with your own unique interests. The next point of honor is aligning your study abroad and study away. So within this, one thing that you'll be able to do is you'll work with us to, as well as the Bunch Center, to devise a study abroad or study away opportunity, which purposely enhances your chosen skills as well as your chosen strengths. So are you a people person? Are you a relator? As well as not just a scientist or a social scientist? How are all of these things connected? I believe someone's trying to get in. All right, so the next one is serving through your strength. With serving through your strength, this point of honor looks at sketching out a plan for perpetual service. How can you, we all want to give service, but how can we give our service where we can discover how we personally can serve the community based upon our strengths and what our needs and what our purposes are? So that's our third point of honor. And last but not least, it's our fourth point of honor, which is developing your engagement strategy. So your engagement strategy deals with networking with internal and external stakeholders for you to find opportunities which will foster your chosen career and career trajectory. Thank you so much. And so now I hand it back over to Professor Calloway, our speaker for today.
Thank you, Dr. Brown-Robertson. And you did say it was recording. You clicked record?
Yeah,
okay,
I
great.
clicked record. It's a note up here saying you are recording this meeting. So yes, I'm recording.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Thank you. So I want to make sure that we are clear on the goals for this particular workshop. We want to assist you to realize your purpose, to better identify your role in projects, community service, mentorship in the workplace, etc. Identify and set goals for your academic year and beyond, and do a SCOB analysis to help you achieve your goals. So that's strengths, challenges, obstacles, and barriers. So hopefully you can see how what we have come up with for the 4 points of honor aligns with the goals in this workshop. And you'll see how even the subsequent workshops align with those 4 points of honor. So we talk about purpose, we talk about goals. I think people think those two terms are interchangeable. They are definitely not. So we want to make sure that you're clear what purpose, when we say what purpose is versus what we say what goals are. So purpose is really very close to your heart, right? It's really personal. It really speaks to who you are. It's all about your mission. So sometimes, we're familiar with a mission statement when we think about a university or a company, but you yourself can write your own mission statement, and that really speaks to your purpose. The answer to the purpose question should drive your personal choices and decisions, and our purpose does not serve our goals. Rather, it helps us create our goals. So think about that as we go through the slides. A goal, on the other hand, is something we strive for that should be aligned with our purpose. They're not separate, they don't live separately. They do live together, but they have totally different paths, right? So reaching our goal helps us accomplish our purpose. And goals usually emerge from a visioning process. So when you think about, typically you read something that has a mission statement, it typically has a vision statement to go along with that. So if you kind of are clear on mission and vision, purpose and goals should kind of, give you that same understanding. So goals are, at the very least, are a plan that keeps us headed in the right direction to serve our purpose. So goals serve our purpose, and where purpose does not serve our goals, but helps us create them. So hopefully that clears up any confusion or they're not interchangeable, they do work together. So we're going to start off with helping you identify your purpose. And so just take a minute to take this image in and really see if you understand what's happening here in this diagram. Right, so one thing I really like about trying to understand and identify purpose, is the part about here where it says the world needs it. So we always think about, what my purpose is, and it is what you want to do, when you think about your purpose, your passion, your profession, what are you passionate about? But I really enjoy this one part about it, that it is really think about how your purpose will impact the environment or the world around you, whatever it is. And on next Wednesday, the 21st, we'll be looking at community service and community engagement. That should really align with your purpose, and hopefully this workshop will help you figure out which community service would be really good for you or speak to your passion. So I was introduced to this book called The Path Made Clear, and it is a book written by Oprah Winfrey. I haven't read it, but I listened to it, so I guess it's the same thing. And it really changed my life, and I have listened to it twice, and I'll probably listen to it 10 more times. So I wanted to share just a little excerpt with you from The Path Made Clear.
It's supposed to be plain. It's not plain.
Can't hear it?
No.
Oh, oh Lord, hold on.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Could anyone else hear it? I couldn't hear it.
No.
No, okay. Let's see. Is there something I have to do with audio? Um, hmm. It's nothing. I don't see anything I need to do. Meeting options.
You want to just go to the next slide? We can go back.
1 sec. Let me just see if I can. I'm looking at the settings. Make sure I had the.
Your screen, you're not even sharing the slides anymore.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting a workaround, a solution.
Okay.
Sec. Get there. Okay. Were you able to hear that?
No.
No. Okay. All right. I will try to fix that and come back to it. It really was a really good segue, but let me go back to you guys. Go back to share. We'll come back to that. I'll definitely try to make sure. All right. So actually what she was talking about, and in the beginning of that, you heard her say, about if you Google, what is your purpose, how many different things show up, and so that's because so many people, ask that question and want to get some sort of an answer. It's really dependent on, your life's question, your life purpose and how you want to fulfill your life. So it's a really popular question. It's really something popular that people Google. So I really recommend that you take a minute to either listen to or read that. And at the end, I'll talk a little bit more about that book. So I want to ask you, why do you think it is important to discover your purpose? Why is it important to discover your purpose? And so we have let's see if this works. I'm going to put a link in the chat. Where you can put your answers. Get the link.
Did you hit send?
Get,
Oh, okay. There you go. I just reminded you.
yeah. Okay, so there's a link in the chat, and hopefully that'll take you to a whiteboard in Teams. And I'm going to click on the link and go there myself. And then I'm going to share that screen with you.
Dr. Calloway, I don't know if it's just me, but the chat's not like enabled for me. Like I can't open the chat.
Does anybody else have a problem seeing the chat? I do see it.
Yeah, I see the chat as well. What about any of the other students? Are you all able to see the chat?
Anybody can, yeah.
I can see the chat. I can try sending something through it to see if it comes through.
Okay.
It should be a couple of things already in the chat. Are you able to see the things that are already in the chat?
No, it might be down for me too.
Okay.
Reading info, reading notes, new options. Nothing. So options. Option.
Yeah, looks like I'm the only person there, Professor Calloway.
Now can you see the chat? I'm gonna resend that link. Now can you see the chat?
No, it's still saying that it's like disabled for me.
Okay, well, let's keep going. Let me go back to the slides and we'll just verbally talk about the chair. I've never had that happen where can't see the chat. All right, so let's talk about this verbally. What do you think? Why do you think it's important to discover your purpose? You can, since you can't put it in the chat, you can unmute and verbally say it. Why do you think it's important to discover your purpose?
I can go, Dr. Calloway.
Sure.
I would kind of say it's going back to when you were talking about purpose and goals, but I think discovering your purpose is important because it gives you a guide of where you should be going and where you would want to go in life. And I just think that is really helpful, especially at least for myself being very young and not really always knowing like what the next step is. I think if you figure out your purpose early in life, it makes the rest of going through the rest of life that much easier.
Agreed. Yeah. Anybody else want to add to that? Why it's important to discover your purpose? Okay.
I can go. I can go.
Sure.
I think it's important to discover your purpose. Just somebody who's older, I think it's important to discover your purpose because it gives you a fuller life. It gives you a meaning or just understanding of what direction you want to go. It can kind of ease some stress as well and everything if you know what your purpose or your calling is.
That's true. Let's see. Yep, it makes life more meaningful, helps you understand yourself on a deeper level, and can change some limiting beliefs that you may have, right? So, that's like lifting some, like you said, lifting some stress. So it's good, So I know you're also here to find out why it's important to understand your purpose. But I wanted to hear maybe what you thought. So that was good. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Dr. Brown Robinson. So some thoughts towards discovering your purpose. So if you weren't sure, let's look at some of these questions. If you had all the money in the world, how would you spend your time? Right? If I had all the money in the world, I know how I would spend my time, because I would probably do something I'm really passionate about. And I probably wouldn't be too far from this podium where I'm standing right here, because I'm really passionate about education in all forms. What would your perfect day look like? What activities set your soul on fire? Look inward. A lot of times, one way to find out, really what your purpose is or your passion is to look inward, and do not at all focus on what other people are telling you is you're so good at this, you're so good at that. That may be the case, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's your purpose or your passion. It just means that you're good at that, right? And it may be your purpose, but it may not be. What are you most passionate about? What do you want to be passionate about? What brings you joy, satisfaction, reward? Right, we talked about doing community service, being engaged in the community. How what we're passionate about, how does it impact the world? And then combat that inner dialogue of doubt or disbelief. And we're going to talk about how to do that when we talk about our goal setting as well. And one way to help is to define your true priorities and eliminate any false objectives. So you have to be careful about that. Sometimes, this may take a bit of discernment on your part to kind of really hone in on what your purpose is. And that's what the goal of this workshop is, to help you identify that.
Can I say something? This made
Sure.
me think of something that
Sure.
I used to tell my students. All of these questions and everything is, I would ask them, I said, what did you like to do when you were younger? What type of, when you would play a game, when you were a kid on a certain profession, what was that profession? And for me, I would be the teacher in the classroom, and I will also be the lady who was running her own corporation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's funny. When when you're little and they used to have kindergarten, well, they still have kindergarten graduation, and they had the book and everything. And it says, asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And at 5, I said a teacher. I think probably a lot of 5-year-olds say teacher, but I was always, educating all the little kids around me, whether I was right or wrong.
Yeah. Anybody else? Did anybody else do something or aspire to something as a kid that they kind of, feel like they're doing right now, or that they want to still do?
I can kind of speak on that. Not necessarily playing pretend, but I was a doctor 6 Halloweens in a row, and now that's what I'm pursuing. So
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? All right, cool.
Okay. All right, and then we're familiar with this young man here. The Mamba mentality. The magic in life is finding what it is that you love. That's the key. When you find that thing that you love, your life makes sense. You wake up in the morning and life makes sense. And for me, it was basketball, right? So yeah, you wake up in the morning, you can't wait to go do your job, or to go and help somebody, or to, fulfill your day that you enjoy doing. You wake up in the morning, can't wait to go do it. So that's the type of, I guess, internal, inward looking, and kind of tapping in that we're trying to kind of get your juices flowing about. All right, so we do have a purpose finding quiz, and
The chat. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute, Professor Calloway. Can you all hear her? I think she's on mute.
I can't hear her.
You can't hear her?
No.
Okay.
Okay, there I go. Sorry, I don't know how that happened. So we're saying the purpose find. So we have a purpose finding quiz, but I wasn't able to. I should have put a QR code, not thinking we were going to have access to the chat. But if you could just take a quick 7 minutes, you can type this URL into your browser, if you don't mind. And, if you have any objections to doing this, you're not under any obligation to do it. But it's a very quick quiz. The results, so, it gives you what happens with the results. They don't go anywhere. They're anonymized. It's just aggregated data. And so where it says, it's out of Berkeley University in California, and it's the Greater Good Science Center. And so the URL is greatergood.berkeley.edu/quizzes/take_quiz/purpose_in_life. So it's 5:57, so it's 6:04. Let's check in and see, if you feel you want to reveal your results, but you don't have to. But I give you the time to quick, it's very quick quiz.
Are you still there, Professor Conway?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, because it just went off and I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
So,
no, I saw you sent so I went to get my phone to.
oh, okay. I'm admitting somebody in the room.
Great, thank you.
For for you who just joined us, we're doing a 7-minute quiz, a purpose finding quiz, and the link is down below. But we should be stopping soon, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got about another minute.
Okay.
Okay, that was about 7 minutes. So did anybody take the quiz? And if you did, do you want to share anything about it? Maybe what you thought about the quiz, or do you want to talk about the results that you got? I know it gives advice based on the results that you got. So if you don't want to talk about your results, you might want to talk about the advice that was given or what you think about it. And it could be positive or negative. You know, it doesn't, you don't have to like what I like.
Say I can go. The score I got was 51 out of 70. Just kind of like what I expected. It said that's like a moderate level of purpose. And I really like the advice that it gives at the end of like questions to ask to kind of go a little bit further and discover your purpose a little bit more.
Yes, thank you. I did too when I took it as well. I like the advice that it gave me, you know, about sharing my ideas about my purpose to other people and sharing the ways that I'm, you know, I guess living my purpose, you know, but you know, to share that with other people. And that actually talks to this quote. Now I think about it: the meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. Anybody else want to share?
Well, I'll share. I took it earlier. I was trying to go back and look at what my results said, but I was 56. My number was 56. And it says something about off of memory. I don't have it right in front of me, but it was saying to take to take different bits and pieces to kind of move, do smaller things to move to the purpose. And I thought that was timely because, right now, I want to achieve certain things, but I realize the thing it's increments and so forth.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Anybody else before we move on? I don't want to leave anybody out if they want to share. Are you still taking the quiz?
Yeah, who else is there? Let's do a human check. Maybe we should do a human check.
Yeah. Because I can only see when people talk. My little picture's up tiny up in the thumbnail, so I can't see the whole screen.
Is everybody here?
I was gonna say, I can
Okay.
go a little bit more of like the particular advice that I liked, if that's okay.
Sure.
So I like at the very end it says cultivate positive emotions, and I just think that's really important, and I really like that because that's something that I try to look for now, and it's basically saying like look for positive emotions to help broaden your outlook and basically not chase emotions, but usually when you have emotions like gratitude or you're in awe or interested, that's where you can start to find your purpose. And I just think that's important because usually like you're not always taught that growing up, or at least I wasn't. Like you weren't taught to go off like, well, what do you want to do in the future that makes you feel good, that keeps you interested, makes you inspired. Like we're usually not taught that, so I thought that was important that they included that.
That's true. And so part of this entire series of workshops, like the thread that's kind of like running underneath this is the whole student. To look at yourselves holistically and not just around the senior thesis, where you don't want to teach to the senior, but to kind of look at yourself as a whole student, as a whole person, and what does that look like, and how do you develop that? How do you tap in? And then once you tap in, how do you make use of what you found out about yourself? And cutting out the inner dialogue, as we saw on the other slide, the inner dialogue of doubt and disbelief that that you can achieve, or that what you think your purpose is fine. It's perfectly fine. It's your passion, so nobody can tell you that it's right or that it's wrong. And later on when we talk about goals, we talk about, don't beat up on yourself, about whether you met the goal in the time frame or not. So as we move into goals, we have a couple of graphics here. Grow what matters one step at a time. This speaks to what you just said, Dr. Brown Robertson. Little by little, your steps will add up. And then begin with the end in mind. So like in some of my classes, when I'm teaching in my IS and IT classes, we always talk, everything in computing is IPO, input, processing, output. And so students always think, oh, well, you got to know what the input is so that you know what the processing is, so you know what the output is, but not necessarily. Sometimes if you know what output is required by the program and what that output should look like, it will help you identify then what you go into the program to be processed to get that output. So, sometimes you got to kind of like reverse engineer. And again, my IS/IT background, reverse engineer and begin with the end in mind. So how would you define what goals are? And then the second question is, why is it important to set goals? So if anybody wants to just throw it out there, how would you define what goals are? What are goals? Like if you had to write this definition down, how would you define what goals are?
Something you want to achieve.
Yes, something you want to achieve.
Like a desired result.
Yeah, a desired result. Yeah. All right, let's see.
I see it as checkpoints.
Oh, okay, good. Checkpoints along the way. All right, so Merriam-Webster defines it as the end toward which effort is directed. Right, that's pretty much what you guys are saying. A goal is an objective or target that someone is trying to reach or achieve. You guys are right on target with your definition. So this is dictionary.com. And then also from dictionary.com, a goal is an aim or objective that you work toward, but you work toward it with effort and determination. So why is it important to set goals? Why do you think it's important to do this goal setting? If you know what a goal is, and you know where that you want to, why is it important to set the goals out?
I think it holds you accountable.
It holds you accountable. Is that what you said, Michelle?
Yes.
Yeah. Anybody else? Why is it important to set goals?
It probably gives you like time to like reflect on or revise like the path you're taking.
Yes. Then it's empowering to set goals. You feel empowered. It empowers you to move in that direction towards your objective. And there's something called the shiny object syndrome. So if you set the goal, it keeps you from experiencing the shiny object syndrome, which means getting distracted from one idea to the next, which can stifle your growth. So, and so this happens a lot with students who are in IS and IT. As soon as there's a new app out, everybody wants to know, oh, I got to learn that new app. I got to learn that new app. When maybe your goal was to become a database administrator. But all these apps come out and you're like, oh, maybe I need to learn that. Maybe, you get distracted by the next new shiny app. So the same thing applies like in your personal life. You set goals, and then other things kind of distract you from, moving from along your path towards your objective.
Yeah, I can think of another example where you have this goal where you want to maybe pursue medical school or something like that, and then you know they have this program over here where you can go for free to be a physician's assistant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then it's kind of like, oh, do I do the physician assistant or do I stick with my goal of wanting to be a doctor?
Right. The shiny thing over there, the fast thing, but the less quality thing. Right. So it's important to set goals because it forces you to better manage and value your time. So I know a few of you have come to me and come into the office and asked us about time management. And let me tell you, start setting your goals and you will see how your time management improves, because you have to set aside time to get to that point, get to the end point, or you have to study. You have to set time to study because now you have the goals set. So this is a really like indirect way of time management. It's like a subset or like a sub bonus that you get when you start setting your goals. It forces you to manage your time better and value your time. And then last, it's part of having a growth mindset. So you might have heard this term. Sometimes it's called a success mindset. And so this is versus having a fixed mindset. Michelle, you talked about, finding out something new about how you can approach looking at your purpose, by really kind of like being okay with how you feel about something, or, looking at a more emotional intelligence about your purpose. So growth mindset taps into that as well. So it's okay if you fail, but then, what do you do about that? How do you move forward past that? Being proactive about your goal setting. And that's what we're doing here. So doing this exercise is having a growth mindset.
So I have a question I kind of want to throw out to everybody really quickly. How many of you all like have a vision board or really kind of write different notes for yourself around it? I remember like when I was in undergrad as well as in grad school, I wrote Dr. Latanya Brown on my wall and I left it there. How many of you all do things like that? I actually have a picture right here on my desk. I'm going to show you guys. This is a picture of myself my freshman year studying, right? And so I keep it right there. I don't know if you all can see it that well, But that I keep this here because it helps me be focused on those things. So how many of you will kind of do little things like that within your space?
I have before, but honestly, I need to update my vision board.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, one of my favorite writers, Octavia Butler, when you look at her, I think right, I said right, one of my favorite authors. When you look at her original notes, when she was a young author, she literally wrote out, what she was going to achieve. I think it's her. It was either her or Toni Morrison. I think it was Octavia Butler. She wrote out, what she was going to achieve as far as being, an author, and everything she wrote out, like, the show, you look back at her, I think it was her, and you can see everything that she actually wrote out, she actually achieved. I'm going to look that up because I want to say it's her, but it's probably could be several others probably have done the same thing. But, actually, yeah, writing it down. And so that's what we're going to show you, the approach to doing that. So you might have heard of SMART goals, as it applies to maybe various different things, but we want you to use this approach as we look at goal setting, right? So your goals should be SMART goals. And so we use this in education, it's used in business when we are doing program planning, curriculum planning. There's a lot of ways that we look at SMART goals when we're doing assessment. So here we want you to take a look at this and just keep this kind of like as a guide as you are thinking about your goals. So this is saying what your goals should be. And so it's using the SMART acronym. So where S, your goals should be specific. So you want to know, what do you want to do? Right? Your goals should speak to what you want to do. Your goals should be measurable. So it might answer the question, how will you know when you've reached it? How do you measure your success towards your goals? If they should be achievable. Is it even in your power to accomplish it? They should be realistic. Can you realistically achieve it? And timely. When exactly do you want to accomplish your goals? So before we finish, we're going to do our SCOB analysis. So we're going to look at things that will help you to achieve them, just some analysis and things that may be in the way of you achieving your goals. So just keep this in the back of your mind as you're thinking about what your goals are. Are your goals SMART? Using this acronym. And then here, just following up with the SMART goals, there's a SMART goals template. You can find this online anywhere. So you think about what you want to achieve, what is the purpose of your goal, and again, how will it benefit others, and is it SMART? So you don't have to set 5 to 10 goals. You can start thinking about one major goal. Right? Or maybe you have 2 or 3 goals. So we're not talking about a long laundry list of goals here, right? So you can start out thinking about one goal at a time and then run it through the SMART goals and identify if that particular goal is SMART, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. And if it's not, maybe it's not really a goal. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's just a desire. So I think one way to really identify and clearly, be comfortable with your goal identification is to run it through SMART. Okay. All right, so how do we manage our goal setting? So just like anything else, just like a large problem, you want to break it down into smaller pieces. If you can break a big problem into smaller pieces, then you can try to solve those smaller pieces, and then the bigger problem it doesn't seem so big. So the same thing with goal setting. You want to take a large goal and break it down into smaller steps. and then break it down into time-based accomplishments. And so this will help you, check off the SMART goals, because when we're talking about timely, is it something you can, really accomplish? And so, and maybe even setting dates and times to this. For me, I'm so, I break this down even smaller. Like during my day, I know there's things I want to accomplish, but then I break it down into by what time do I want to accomplish it. And I make my list, and I love crossing things off my list. But when I don't accomplish it in a certain period of time, I had to teach myself not to beat myself up, because I had to be realistic about why that didn't happen. If things got in the way, or unexpected things, got in the way of me accomplishing it. So that's what we also talk about don't beat yourself up. The objective is, yes, to achieve the goals and get where you want to go, but it takes time and it takes practice. And if you're really not breaking it down smaller, then you don't see where you're accomplishing, because you may accomplish some steps, but may not accomplish all of them. So you break the goal down into learning processes. Right, learn about this, then practice. Learn another aspect, and then practice. And that'll get you further to your goal. And then when you set another goal after the main goal, then you'll be more comfortable and get there in a timely way and in a smart way. So I wanted to show you a way to do this. So one of the really easy and simple ways to do this, and because goal setting doesn't have to be complicated. Right? It doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be a burden. So using a really simple tool like a goal ladder, where each rung of the ladder represents a smaller goal that gets you to the bigger goal. So by making these sub goals, it's much more motivating. It's less intimidating. It's much more manageable, less overwhelming. So I highly recommend, doing this exercise. So the process to doing a goal ladder, again, identify the larger goal, and then think about what is the end reward once you achieve the goal. Identify steps to accomplish that overall larger goal, and each step of the process can even have its own end date and its own reward. So users check off each step as they achieve it, and then regroup and see what the next step is, so they can even climb higher and get closer to the bigger goal. So here's just a little sample of what a goal ladder can look like, where you identify your end goal and what the end reward is. What are the steps to completing your goal? What's the time frame? And then what's the reward as you accomplish certain steps? So even just having this in your mind, and so you don't have to have a template or anything like this with a ladder. You can just write out your goals, or you can create something graphic if it works better for you, to apply the steps to completing your goal ladder. So I wanted to show you an example of a simple handwritten goal ladder of an athlete, right? So this is a student athlete, a student baseball player. So you see the rungs on the ladder. In 3 weeks, 90 to 95% of my pitches will be strikes. In 2 weeks, 85 to 90% of my pitches will be strikes. In 1 week, my pitches will be from 70% strikes to 75% to 80%. So the bigger goal is to get 90 to 95% of the pitches to be strikes. And then he's timed it out 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and each week it should be some improvement percentage-wise, right? It looks like it's a pretty reasonable percentage. So he's starting out at 70%, and he wants to go up 75 to 80, 85 to 90, 90 to 95. And then so on the bottom rung, he missed his target percentage, right? He had a broken rung. And then the solution is, he's not beating up on himself, but he's, I can just readjust my timeline. Sometimes you just have to readjust your timeline. And then second rung, 2 weeks, broken rung. I'd rather work on something else right now. And then how to fix it. I want to be a pitcher, so I need to improve my accuracy, even if that isn't the most fun. So hopefully not getting distracted, not seeing the shinier thing, like not practicing and maybe hanging out with the fellas or whatever. Sometimes you have to have that dialogue with yourself and encourage yourself. Like there's a gospel song now, right? Encourage yourself. That's exactly sometimes what you have to do. And then in 3 weeks, broken rung, I have no one to catch for me. How to fix it, I can throw against the wall or in the cage. So besides setting the steps that you need to get to accomplish your goals and setting some rewards and some end dates and some deadlines, think about what the solutions will be rather than just say, okay, well, that didn't work, or I'm not going to achieve it. What do you need to achieve it, and how do you fix that? All right, so we're going to take another quick 7 minutes. It's 6:27. Oh, it's where we were before. So at 6:34, we will come back. We'll not go anywhere. But just take 7 minutes to you just handwrite out. When I'm not going to ask you to show it unless you want to, or if you want to do it on the computer. Just take 7 minutes to just think about what I just showed you, and I'm going to go back a couple of slides and start writing out your goal ladder. Give you about 7 minutes to work on your goal ladder. Okay, it was about 7 minutes. Hope you've been able to work on your goal setting. And so one thing I want to remind you as we're working on this, and we'll continue to work a little more on this, and those of you that attended today, if you want to come by the office to get a little help with your identifying your purpose and doing your goal setting, I'd be glad to help you with that. But also part of this, later in, I think early in November, we're going to start working on e-portfolios. And so we talked about that in both the freshman and sophomore orientation. So e-portfolios are where electronically you will place, different artifacts of evidence of your skill sets, of your knowledge, of your abilities. And, so doing this type of an exercise definitely should be added to your e-portfolio. It can be added in the blog portion of it. So I hope that you're taking this seriously and either identifying your goals and your purpose you hopefully maybe you're using some way to capture it, whether you're writing it by hand and then you're going to type it up later, or you're going to put it into some sort of format that looks like a goal ladder, or even the SMART goals. There's so many worksheets and templates and whatnot online that you can just Google SMART goals or goal ladder and find something that you want to use to incorporate it. But we will want you to save it. And we said to start, create a folder somewhere and start saving different artifacts that you're going to then add into your e-portfolio. All right. So does anybody want me to stop sharing? And does anybody want to share their goal ladder or their start to kind of identifying their goals? And I know that may be personal, but knowing what your goal is, setting goals doesn't have to be personal. Maybe your purpose is, but it's up to you if you'd like to share either verbally or if you'd like to show it on the screen. Okay. No pressure. But again, please feel free to come by the office if you want to show it to us then so we can assist you with it. All right, the last part of our workshop is the SCOB analysis, right? So there's definitely an exercise called SWOT analysis, SWOT, where the letters represent strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And typically SWOT analysis is done by a corporation or a company or an organization, and even people do SWOT analysis personally. But I attended a forum and there was an entrepreneur there, and she said, yeah, we all know about SWOT. She said, but I changed the W and the T to C for challenge and B for barrier. As she thought about becoming an entrepreneur, she wanted to identify the strengths, challenges, opportunities, and barriers. She was saying she didn't like the words weaknesses or threat. So I adopted it. I said, yes, that works for me. I like challenges and barriers better than weaknesses and threats. So I want us to do a little bit of a SCOB analysis. So we want to know when we're trying to start thinking about, well, what might be our strengths, identifying your strengths, what makes you stand out from the rest, right? For example, your leadership skills, certifications, education, connections. Can your knowledge in some areas make a difference to whatever organization you're thinking about joining or that you're already a part of? What projects or assignments have you completed successfully? And as we said, we talked about, your artifacts of evidence. Everybody maybe doesn't have an internship in their field, but you've worked on projects or assignments. Maybe you led a community service project. Those things are artifacts of evidence that will identify some strengths to either a potential employer, to someone who's hiring you for an internship, if you're applying to grad school or to work on a research project. Which of your achievements are you most proud of? What values do you exhibit, and what do others think are your strengths? So, identifying your strengths, again, doesn't have to be a long laundry list, or it may be, as you identify your strengths. And you may add to them as you gain more skills or more knowledge, right? So think about your strengths and start jotting down, 3 to 5 strengths that you can identify. And typically, a SWOT analysis, usually in a diagram like this with the 4 quadrants. So you can always look on PowerPoint or Word or anything, even online, and look for SWOT analysis diagram, where you can create your own and just change it up to SCOB. Right, identifying challenges. What might you think are some challenges to achieving your goals? Right, so hopefully you started writing down your goals. What challenges do you think might, be in the way of you achieving your goals? Anybody? So if you've identified some goals, you must identify some obstacles or challenges, as we saw in the example, because then, hopefully the obstacles aren't in your way, but, you want to be able to prepare for them, but you also need to you already know what challenges there are that would keep you from reaching your goals.
I can throw one challenge out there, just a general one, a financial challenge.
Yeah, definitely. I think we could all raise our hands that might be a challenge. And then I'm going to throw this out there for barrier. In some ways, that may also be a barrier to reaching your goals.
I agree with Dr. Robinson about the financial, but I was also just thinking a big challenge for me is maybe like public speaking. And I think that just can be a challenge in many ways, but one way I think about it, especially with my research and eventually getting to the point of like presenting, that makes me very nervous because of public speaking. So that's definitely one challenge for me.
Yes. So I don't know. I said I was going to look this up, and I don't know if you know, Latanya, if there's a Toastmasters International student chapter here on campus. I probably would assume there probably is. It may be hosted in the School of Business or come out of the School of Business. I don't know. But if it's not, that would be an excellent opportunity for students to, get more experience with public speaking. So Toastmasters International is an international organization, hundreds of, thousands of members, different chapters all over the world. And they also have student chapters on campuses. And what it does, it really helps students improve their soft skills, like oral presentations, written presentations, no matter what that looks like, whether it's poetry, whether it's, making a speech as the President of the United States. And the approaches to doing that in a better way. And there are other things that they do, including leadership, professional development, and so on. So that's something I think, if we can find out if there's one here or not, because that's an excellent organization to help students improve their public speaking. All right, so I'm just going to throw out some other challenges that some of you may face. Lack of qualifications, not enough experience, self-doubt, time, too many distractions, fear, we said financial, uncertainty about your goals. You may have too many, they may be vague, burnout, lack of commitment, afraid to do something different and get out of your comfort zone. So if you weren't sure what might fall under the challenges category, hopefully these examples will help you as you do your SCOB analysis. Oh, another one, not willing to sacrifice now for a better future. That's a challenge, making that sacrifice now for a better future. You were talking about this earlier, Latanya. Work hard now so you can play hard later.
Yeah, that's what I told my 6-year-old son.
Yes. Sacrifice
Yeah,
now.
that's true. It's very relevant.
He needs to do a SCOB analysis.
Right.
All right, opportunities, identifying opportunities. Plenty of opportunities, resources. Are there any significant changes or updates in your environment that you can take advantage of? We're going to have a workshop on October 5th where we're going to bring you a lot of information, including information about fellowships and scholarships. You want to take advantage of opportunities. Have new trends in your area, like your major, your industry, or your field, emerge that you can make use of in the future. Maybe there's some training you want to do or sit in some webinars. Is a new opportunity or experience available that matches your skill set? Did a position become vacant? Right, so identifying something that matches your skill set. Is there a new project or assignment in your college that you can join or participate in, which will benefit you currently, academically, or later on in the future professionally? And can acquiring new skills give you a competitive advantage over others who are going maybe for the same position or applying for the same scholarship or applying for the same graduate school, and they only limit, but so many applicants, in a semester? What is it that you can identify as an opportunity that's going to, give you a competitive advantage? So start thinking about those opportunities as you do your SCOB analysis. And then identifying barriers. So can anybody identify any barriers, things that are in the way of you achieving your goals? What's in the way?
I would just go back to what Dr. Robinson said. I think financial barriers is probably the biggest.
Yeah. I agree. I think sometimes it's not easy to identify all these different things. So I just threw it out there really big. Lack of resources, time, finances, sometimes even housing, is a barrier to students achieving their goals. So when you think about resources just in general as something that's an obstacle or a barrier, so then, so you do this entire analysis, looking at your strengths, the challenges, the opportunities, the barriers. And so you have a really clear picture of what you have to achieve your goals and what you need to achieve your goals, or what's in the way and how you can, overcome the barriers. What do you do to overcome these barriers? But the first step to overcoming a barrier is to identify it. Right. And then sometimes, once we start, doing these analyses, we open up to a lot of things that we weren't aware of, and you're wondering, why am I running in place? And when you start identifying the challenges and the barriers to you achieving your goals, you can really start doing something about it. So we are at 6:48, 10 to 7. So I'm going to make this a little shorter and just ask you, just take a couple of minutes, just think about what I said, let it kind of marinate. And hopefully, as I was talking, you were thinking about your strengths, challenges, opportunities, and barriers, and that you start identifying these. And again, you do a SCOB analysis. That's something, a really valuable tool to add to your ePortfolio. Employers, graduate schools love to see that you have done some self-introspection at this stage in your academic career. This is really very mature. This is, a really good initiative to take. So I highly recommend, following through with identifying your purpose, recognizing, what your goals are, do some goal setting, and then do your SCOB analysis. And again, if there's something you need us to help you with to do this, we're available to do that. So I'm going to keep going in the interest of time. So I want to remind you about our Wednesday workshops. And so we have Wednesday events here, but we're changing the name to Wednesday workshops. So these are our September workshops. The next to September 21st, our community service and engagement workshop, and that will be co-facilitated by Michaela Billups. Thank you, Michaela. This is going to be so exciting. We have a host of really good community service projects that you might be interested in and that will speak to your what? Speak to your purpose. And so that's why we kind of line these workshops in a particular order. And it's kind of like called scaffolding, right? You build on, you learn something at one time and then you build on it as you go further out. So hopefully, you'll be able to fall back on what you learned today to identify a community service or a community engagement project that really speaks to your passion and your purpose. And then on the 28th, we're doing a STEM workshop, data analytics and storytelling with data. So this is next week is virtual, and then the week after is also virtual. So hopefully you'll find some value in understanding data and how we can analyze and visualize data, as you're doing your research, as you're thinking about your different projects that you're doing. Data tells a story about everything, and you can use your data analysis to shore up hypotheses or to shore up facts. And so how do we do that? How do we use it to tell the story? So those are what's coming up. And then the book, as I mentioned, The Path Made Clear, Discovering Your Life's Direction and Purpose by Oprah Winfrey. And so what she says about purpose, your real job in life is to figure out as soon as possible what that is, who you are meant to be, and begin to honor your calling in the best way possible. So I pat my little self on the back when I was graduating from kindergarten that I said a teacher, and somehow, some way, that was my calling, and I've been doing that for most of my life. So I'd like to think I did honor my calling in that way. And if this is something that appeals to you, and maybe with Kasha working with us together, Michaela, do we want to do maybe like a COAS HP book club? And no pressure. I know how people feel about book clubs. I'm in one. So the pressure to read a certain amount or read a book by a certain time can be a bit of pressure. But maybe we can think of a way where it's not. And if that's something you're open to, I would highly suggest reading or listening to The Path Made Clear, Discovering Your Life's Direction and Purpose, since this is what we're kind of talking about. And I just included all the sources that I pulled from to create this. And that's the end of the presentation.
Great. Thank you so much, Professor Calloway, for a very informative presentation. Do we have any questions for Professor Calloway or regarding the workshop or any information that she shared? Okay, well, great. Well, definitely get the word out. Let your friends know about Workshop Wednesdays, and we hope to see you next time. Thank you.
Yep, and I'll be sending out an evaluation form so we know, get some feedback from you so we can see what we need to improve or what we need to add and so on.
Great.
Thank you, Dr. Calloway and Dr. Robertson.
Thank you for attending.
Thank you.
Okay,
All right.
good.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night. Take care. Bye-bye.